Hi, I'm Tanya. The first time I see Sam, he's in the middle of a training session. His voice is steady, cutting clean through the room's dull buzz. He's confident, precise, but not pretentious. He commands the space effortlessly, not because he's loud or overbearing, but because every word he says has weight. People lean forward when he speaks. I watch his hands, broad, capable, as he gestures toward a graph projected on the wall. Something about his presence makes me sit straighter, take sharper notes. Later, in the break room, I catch him alone. He's stirring cream into his coffee, his tie slightly loosened, the top button of his shirt undone. He glances up as I approach, his hazel eyes curious but guarded. "You're Tanya, right?" he says. He remembers my name. I nod and manage a polite response, though inside I'm spiraling, replaying every interaction we've had during the training. It's professional, sure, but there's something else, an unspoken connection. Our first real conversation happens 2 weeks later. The training program is over, and I've been assigned to my department. It's late, most of the office has emptied out, and I'm reviewing patient data at my desk when Sam walks by. He stops, leans on the edge of my cubicle. "Burning the midnight oil?" His voice is lighter than I've heard it before, tinged with humor. I laugh nervously. Trying to make a good impression. "You're doing more than that." He pauses, and for a moment, the air feels heavy. "Let me know if you need help with anything." That's how it starts. A shared joke here, a passing compliment there. Nothing overt, nothing inappropriate. But there's a pull, subtle at first, growing stronger each time we talk. I don't know what I expect when I finally send him that first email, something innocuous about a conference he mentioned. His reply is quick, almost as if he'd been waiting. Over time, our messages shift, becoming less formal, more personal. I learn he has a dry sense of humor, that he plays guitar to unwind, that he's been divorced for years. He learns about my college years, my love for running, the way I can't start my mornings without chai tea. By the time he asks me to dinner, it feels inevitable. The age gap, 16 years, is glaring at first. My friends comment on it, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled judgment. "Isn't he, like, your dad's age?" one asks, her voice teetering between concern and disbelief. I shrug it off, but the question lingers. It doesn't help that Sam is polished in a way men my age rarely are. His suits fit perfectly, his cologne is subtle but noticeable, his car is always clean. But it's more than that. With him, conversations flow effortlessly, ranging from healthcare policies to obscure indie films. He listens, not the polite nodding most people fake, but the kind where you know every word is landing. And he challenges me, not cruelly, but in a way that sharpens my edges, makes me consider perspectives I'd dismissed before. The first year is a blur of moments stitched together by laughter and discovery. We travel together, first for work and then for us. Chicago, San Francisco, Charleston. Each trip leaves a distinct impression, the crisp wind biting our cheeks as we walk along Navy Pier, the warm glow of sunset over the Golden Gate Bridge, the sticky humidity of a summer night in the South. He's seen these places before, but experiencing them through my eyes seems to make them new for him. On my 28th birthday, he surprises me with a weekend in the Berkshires. We hike a forest trail, the scent of pine and damp earth surrounding us. At the summit, he pulls me into his arms, and for the first time, I think about what this could become, where we're headed, what we might build together. He's not perfect. His job demands long hours, and there are weeks when I feel more like an afterthought than a priority. But when we're together, he's fully present. It's in the way his fingers brush mine as he hands me a coffee, the way his voice softens when he asks about my day, the way his eyes linger just a second too long, as if memorizing the moment. We grow in tandem, each of us shaping the other in subtle ways. He helps me find confidence in the workplace, coaching me through presentations and difficult conversations. I introduce him to new music, books, ideas that make him pause and reconsider. There's respect between us, a mutual understanding that neither of us is trying to fix the other, we're simply amplifying what's already there. Still, there's a quiet hum of uncertainty, an undercurrent of questions neither of us voices. He has a life's worth of experiences I can't touch, and I have a future he may not fully fit into. But for now, it works. For now, it's enough. And so, we keep going, step by step, moment by moment, building something that feels, if not perfect, at least real. The first year with Sam is a whirlwind of shared moments, trips that feel like postcards come to life, conversations that stretch late into the night, and an effortless rhythm that makes me forget how different we are. We navigate our lives together, finding a balance between his experience and my ambition, his steadiness and my restlessness. Then, the pandemic hits, and everything shifts. At first, it's a minor inconvenience, an adjustment. We set up a home office in the spare room and joke about how much money we'll save on gas and lunches. But the novelty wears off quickly. By the second week, Sam's work schedule triples. Healthcare administration during a crisis doesn't leave room for pause, and his days blur into nights. 14-hour shifts become the norm. He's on the phone constantly, poring over reports, barking orders at his team. I barely see him except for a mumbled goodnight or the rare moment he collapses on the couch, too exhausted to string together full sentences. At first, I understand. I tell myself this is temporary, that the world is upside down and he's doing important work. I offer support where I can, bringing him tea, rubbing his shoulders when he lets me. But as the weeks drag on, the silence between us grows louder. I wake up to an empty side of the bed, spend the day alone, and go to sleep wondering if I'll even get a glimpse of him tomorrow. The loneliness creeps in slowly, like a shadow stretching longer as the sun sets. I fill the silence with Netflix, baking, and endless scrolling through social media. One night, scrolling turns into something else. A name pops up, Chris. High school debate partner, class clown, the guy everyone thought would peak at 17 but somehow didn't. His message is casual, almost nostalgic. Hey, Tanya. Long time no see. How's life treating you? I hesitate, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. But it's harmless, right? Catching up with an old friend. So I reply, and before I realize it, we're chatting daily. He's easy to talk to, his humor sharp as ever, and he seems genuinely interested in my life. At first, I tell Sam about Chris. Guess who messaged me today? I say, sliding my phone across the table to show him. Sam glances at the screen, nods, and mutters something about an urgent email he needs to send. It's the last time I mention Chris. Our conversations shift. Chris asks questions Sam hasn't asked in months, how I'm holding up, what I'm dreaming about, what scares me. He listens when I vent about the isolation, about the way the apartment feels cavernous without anyone to share it with. He sends memes and music recommendations, little lifelines that make the days feel less heavy. One night, the power goes out. The apartment is pitch black except for the glow of my phone screen. Sam is still at work, his absence a gaping void. Chris texts me, "You okay? Need anything?" I hesitate for half a second before typing, lonely, mostly. His reply is immediate. Want to FaceTime? I'll keep you company. I don't think. I hit the button, and suddenly his face fills the screen. He's smiling, the soft kind of smile that feels safe, reassuring. We talk for hours, my laughter breaking through the weight I've been carrying. It feels good, too good. The next time it happens, it's different. Chris doesn't just listen, he leans in. His words shift, his compliments landing with a weight I can't ignore. You deserve better than this, Tanya. You're incredible. Anyone would be lucky to have you. His voice is a lifeline, pulling me out of the emotional quicksand I've been sinking into. I don't even realize how close I'm drifting to the edge until it's too late. The first time we cross the line, it's subtle, a conversation that lingers too long, a compliment that feels too intimate. The second time, it's a photo he sends, shirtless, claiming he'd been working out. I laugh it off, but deep down, something shifts. The boundary between what's appropriate and what isn't blurs until I can't tell the difference anymore. I don't tell Sam. How could I? He's drowning in his own ocean of stress, and I'm too ashamed to admit how far I've drifted from the shore. It all comes to a head one night when Sam is working late again, and Chris suggests we meet. Just coffee, he says. To catch up properly. I tell myself it's harmless, that I need the connection, the comfort. The coffee shop is dimly lit, almost empty. Chris smiles when he sees me, the kind of smile that says he's been waiting for this moment. We talk, and for a while, it feels normal. But when he reaches across the table and brushes my hand with his, my breath catches. It's not innocent anymore. When he hugs me goodbye, the hug lingers too long. His lips graze my cheek, too close to the corner of my mouth. I pull away, muttering an excuse, and rush home. My skin burns where his hand touched mine. I sit on the couch, staring at the darkened TV screen. The weight of what I've done, what I've almost done, crashes down on me. I tell myself it didn't mean anything, that I can stop this before it goes any further. But deep down, I know the truth, I've crossed a line I can't uncross. Chris is a ghost now, no texts, no calls. I cut him off cold after that last coffee shop moment, deleting the messages and blocking his number. But the damage is already done, the line crossed. Every time Sam walks into the apartment, the air shifts. He doesn't notice at first, too consumed by work to realize the way I flinch when he kisses my cheek or the way I turn my phone screen down on the counter, even though there's nothing left to hide. Days turn into weeks, and the weight of it grows unbearable. Guilt settles in my chest, spreading like vines I can't untangle. Every time I see Sam at his laptop, exhausted but determined, it's like a mirror held to my failure. He's working himself into the ground to keep everything afloat, while I let someone else fill the space he left behind. I decide to tell him one night after dinner. He's sitting at the table, scrolling through emails on his phone. I clear the plates and set them in the sink, my hands trembling. The words sit heavy in my throat, refusing to come out, until I force them. Sam, we need to talk. He looks up, tired eyes meeting mine. What's wrong? I sit across from him, the chair scraping against the floor. My heart pounds so loudly I can barely hear my own voice. I've been thinking about us. About our relationship. He sets his phone down, his brow furrowing. Okay. What about it? The words spill out in a rush, like tearing off a band-aid. I don't think we've been happy for a while. At least, I haven't. And I think, maybe we should consider an open relationship. His face doesn't change right away. It's like he doesn't understand what I've said, the meaning of the words still sinking in. Then, slowly, the color drains from his cheeks. An open relationship, he repeats, his voice low, measured. I nod, gripping the edge of the table. I think it could help us. Give us space to figure out what we want. Who we are. His jaw tightens, the muscle in his temple twitching. Who we are. Tanya, where is this coming from? I swallow hard, the guilt clawing its way up my throat. I've been feeling disconnected. Lonely. Anne. I reconnected with someone recently. From high school. The silence that follows is deafening. Sam leans back in his chair, his arms crossing over his chest. Reconnected, he says finally, his voice razor sharp. What does that mean, exactly? I can't meet his eyes. We talked. A lot. Anne. I let it go too far. We met for coffee once, and there was a moment, but nothing happened. Not really. He stares at me, unblinking. Not really? What the hell does that mean? Tears prick my eyes, but I blink them away. It wasn't physical, not fully. I stopped it before it could go any further. But I crossed a line, Sam. I'm sorry. For a moment, he doesn't say anything. The silence stretches between us, heavy and suffocating. When he finally speaks, his voice is low and trembling, but not with sadness. With anger. Do you have any idea what I've been doing these past months? The hours I've been putting in? The stress I've been carrying? He stands abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. And while I've been killing myself for us, you've been what? Testing the waters with someone else? It wasn't like that, I whisper, but the words sound hollow even to me. He laughs bitterly, running a hand through his hair. You want an open relationship? Fine. You can have all the space you need, Tanya. Because we're done. The finality in his voice hits me like a punch to the gut. Sam, please. No, he cuts me off, his voice firm. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. Pack your things. I'll bring the rest to your parents' house. The next few days are a blur. He barely speaks to me, his presence in the apartment cold and distant. I pack my belongings in silence, avoiding the memories attached to every corner of our home. The bookshelf we built together, the couch where we spent lazy Sundays, the bed that feels too big and empty now. When the day comes to leave, he helps me load my car without a word. At my parents' house, he carries the last box to the porch and sets it down gently, his face unreadable. Tanya, he says finally, his voice softer now. I hope you figure out what you're looking for. I really do. Tears sting my eyes as I nod, unable to speak. He turns and walks away, and I watch him go, the sound of his footsteps fading into the distance. As the door closes behind me, the reality sinks in. I wanted space, and now I have it. But it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like loss. Grief hits in waves, stronger than I ever imagined. Some days, I wake up, and for a moment, I forget what happened. The bed is too quiet, the air too still. Then it all crashes down again, like an anchor pulling me under. The mornings are the worst. I reach for my phone out of habit, the urge to text Sam still wired into me. A stupid meme, a question about dinner, a link to a playlist I think he'd like. But there's no point anymore. My texts would go unanswered, and the silence would sting more than anything he could say. I throw myself into work, into chores, into anything that keeps my hands moving and my mind busy. But there are only so many floors to mop, so many emails to send, before the stillness creeps back in. And when it does, I fall apart. The crying surprises me. It doesn't come in neat, controllable sobs, but in gasping, guttural bursts, like my body's purging something toxic. I cry in the shower, in my car, even in the grocery store when I see his favorite brand of coffee. It's humiliating, but I can't seem to stop. At first, I try to blame him. It's easier to tell myself that he worked too much, that he was emotionally unavailable, that I was left to fend for myself. But that narrative falls apart under the weight of my guilt. The truth is uglier. I made choices, selfish, thoughtless choices, and now I'm living with the fallout. I think about the way his face crumpled when I told him about Chris, the quiet devastation in his eyes. I replay that conversation over and over, dissecting every word, every pause, every inflection. If I had said it differently, if I had told him sooner, would it have changed anything? Probably not. There's no escaping the reality, I broke something between us that couldn't be fixed. And the more I think about it, the more I realize it wasn't just Chris. The cracks were already there, hidden beneath the surface. Sam wasn't perfect. He worked himself to exhaustion, poured everything into his job, and left me to figure out the rest. But I wasn't perfect either. I expected him to be everything, partner, cheerleader, therapist, without recognizing the weight he was already carrying. His loss wasn't something I fully understood until now. I knew he'd been married before, but it was always a distant fact, something that didn't feel real. His wife had passed years before we met, and by the time we started dating, he seemed fine. Stable. But now, I see how much he'd rebuilt himself, how carefully he'd constructed his life after losing her. And I bulldozed right through it. The guilt is a heavy, unrelenting thing, coiled tight around my chest. I see flashes of him everywhere, in the book he lent me still sitting on my nightstand, in the playlist he made for our road trips, in the stupid inside jokes that pop into my head at the worst moments. I hate how much I miss him, how much I miss us. But missing him isn't enough to change what happened. One night, after another bout of sobbing on the kitchen floor, I finally let myself sit with the discomfort. No distractions, no excuses. Just me, the silence, and the weight of everything I've done. It's not pretty. The truths I confront are harsh and unflinching. I wasn't ready for the kind of relationship Sam needed. I was too immature, too wrapped up in my own needs to see what he was giving. And when things got hard, I didn't step up. I ran. But in that uncomfortable stillness, I also see something else, a glimmer of opportunity. Maybe this isn't the end. Not for us, but for me. I think about the person I was when we met, young, ambitious, but unsure of myself in so many ways. Sam helped me grow in ways I didn't recognize at the time. He taught me to be more assertive, to stand my ground, to value myself. And now, it's on me to continue that growth without him. It's a painful realization, but an empowering one too. I can't undo the mistakes I've made, but I can learn from them. I can take the lessons and use them to build something better, something stronger. For now, it's small steps. Therapy, journaling, reconnecting with friends I'd let drift away. I don't know where this path will lead, but I do know one thing: the person I become on the other side of this will be worth the effort. Sam once told me that growth comes from discomfort, that the hardest moments in life are the ones that shape us. At the time, I rolled my eyes, thinking it was just another one of his motivational speeches. Now, I see what he meant. This isn't the life I imagined, but it's the one I have. And maybe, just maybe, it's enough to start over.